Hi, have you ever thought about what sustainability in farming really means? It's quite simple. We can keep on farming forever and ever. We can keep producing food. It means that we won't run out of nutrients, we won't run out of power and energy. It means we won't run out of seeds. It means we won't run out of fertilizers, and we can keep on doing it forever and ever. Farming started over 10,000 years ago, and we want it to continue for another 10,000 years. Unfortunately, probably since the 1940s, because of the need for increased food production, because of the need to feed growing populations, we've adopted practices which may well have been necessary but are less sustainable. In Atomictractor, we've been working on several big technology projects over the last couple of years, mainly in the fields of net zero, autonomy, and robotics. However, these projects were ones that were around and we got ourselves involved in. Now we've taken a complete step back. We've looked at precisely what we would like to achieve, and that is the perfect sustainable solutions for farming for the future. We believe that can be best achieved through using our superb science and technologies, AI, blockchain, Internet of Things, autonomy, robotics, and applying them to those traditional farming practices that ensured sustainable farming over 10,000 years. So why the name Agroneolithics 4.0? Well, agro for agriculture, Neolithic for the period when farming began 10,000 years ago, and 4.0 for Industry 4.0. Those super modernistic technologies that are coming along, AI, blockchain, Internet of Things, autonomy, robotics, which, by the way, are already here. But they are the development projects for the future. What happened before the Neolithic period? Well, quite simply, as hunter-gatherers, we went out every day with our clubs and our spears and our baskets, and we gathered nuts and fruits and seeds, and we, chased after animals and hunted, and basically fed ourselves on more or less a daily basis. Then the Neolithic period started, and those ancient populations started to grow crops, cereals, vegetables, and they started to herd animals. And that was the beginning of farming as we know it. Now, those ancient people had ancient wisdoms. They were much more part of the planet than what we as the human population are today. They literally were ingrained in part of the planet, whereas in many ways we've almost become superimposed ourselves upon the planet. And they were taking no more out of the planet than what they were putting back in. So we want to couple those ancient wisdoms used extensively over 10,000 years with the science and technology coming from the future to create true sustainability in farming and food production. That's what Agroneolithics 4.0 is all about. So what exactly were these ancient farming wisdoms that allowed sustainable farming for 10,000 years to date and counting? Well, knowing the soil. They literally had their hands in the soil. A circular approach to farming. Animals, livestock, crops, all working together. The natural manure from the animals fertilized the soil, and so on. The crops fed the animals. It was a real circular setup. The use of natural methods. There were no chemicals. There were no artificial fertilizers. Now, you will say that, yes, and of course the yields were very, very low. But with the science and technology that we have today for development of new seeds, for example, new varieties, we can overcome that. In the same way that we don't need to have our hands in the soil, every square meter of soil today, we can use sensors, sensor technology, up in the air, down in the ground, mounted on the machinery. We can do mapping, we can do soil sampling and analysis in a very, very smart way. Looking at how we actually manage the land. We can use modern scientific regenerative farming practices. And where we really need to apply our science and technology is to replacement of chemicals, especially those chemicals which we don't particularly want in the food chain. So knowledge of the soil, knowledge of the land, traditional farming practices like regeneration, like organic, like using our own produced fertilizers from the animals in the land, using things like split grazing, using things like agroforestry. Nowadays we want to plant trees everywhere, quite correctly, because they're the lungs of the planet, breathing in the carbon dioxide, producing oxygen. But why don't we use that forestry to produce food, nuts, seeds, fruits? So this is the essence of Agroneolithics 4.0, applying the technology to those ancient wisdoms that have served us well for so long. At the heart of Agroneolithics 4.0 is something that we call the cycle of sustainable well-being. Why do we grow food? Feed the population. Okay, let's drill into that a little bit deeper. What's the food used for by the population? Simplification for two things. One is for energy. It allows us to do things. Move, walk, run, think. The second thing is for nutrition, to look after our body, provide vitamins, minerals, proteins, and so on. We've become rather skewed in the Western world in the last 20, 30 years towards producing food for energy, for calories, sugar, carbohydrates, and so on. We know the end results. It's led to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and so on. And we've tended to neglect a little bit the nutritional side of food. In fact, in some cases, it can be quite difficult to find highly nutritious foods. Farmers, especially smaller farmers, producing food for energy, cereals, potatoes, and so on, are gradually being frozen out by the big farmers. Economies of scale, mass production, etc. So we need to redress the balance. So what do we mean by the cycle of sustainable well-being? Quite simple. Farming, agriculture produces food. Food provides nutrition. Nutrition leads to good health. Good health leads to social well-being. Social well-being leads to sustainability in communities as well as in agriculture, which takes us back to agriculture again. So that's precisely what we mean by the cycle of sustainable well-being. The purpose of farming is not just to provide food, it's to provide this cycle of sustainability for the human population on the planet for another 10,000 years to come. So we're presenting this today to coincide with World Food Day, 16th of October 2024. Why is that important to us? Well, World Food Day is the 16th of October because that's the day that the FAO, or the United Nations, the Food and Agricultural Organization, started, and at its root and key rationale for being was sustainability. Personally, I worked for the company Massey Ferguson for more than 30 years, and the founder of, or one of the founders of Massey Ferguson, Harry Ferguson, presented his report to the forerunner to the FAO in 1943 in Maryland in the USA, and his vision was about creating machinery, tractors and equipment that would also lead to sustainable farming. So we're updating our website, the details will follow, and you'll now see a series of summary slides on Agroneolithics 4.0 from Atomictractor. And thank you very much for your attention, and we look forward to engaging with you, our stakeholders, as we move forward. Thank you very much indeed.